race, bias, in the American criminal justice system. During the last 20 years, there have been lots of changes in the court system, but has it been enough?
So help you God. I do. Congratulations.
Kimberly Baird was sworn in this year as the first African-American female in Kentucky to serve in the role of Fayette Commonwealth's attorney.
It's not what I thought I was going to do ever.
Baird planned to be a defense attorney until she met former Fayette County Prosecutor Ray Larson, who impressed upon her his office only prosecuted people they were confident were guilty.
Our office needs to represent the community in which we serve.
According to the MacArthur's Foundation's Safety and Justice Challenge website, while Black and Latinx people make up 30% of the U.S. population, they account for 51% of the jail population.
What I know, and just seeing the community, you know that these lower economic communities, socioeconomic communities, don't have a lot and don't necessarily have a lot of resources they need to succeed, which then leads to crime or drug use or whatever. And it tends to be more law enforcement in those areas because sometimes it's kind of out in the open. And so it isn't necessarily that more people of color committing crimes, it just tends to be more out in the open.
Judge Pamela Goodwine says,
overrepresentation of people of color in the prison system is really a complex issue with, I think, roots in a combination of issues. It's historical, it's social, it's economic, it's systemic factors, and all of these factors intersect.
This is in September of 2020, and this is the percentage of Black adults who said increased attention to issues of race and racial inequality will lead to major policy changes. 50% said yes to that, to addressing racial inequality. 56% said it would lead to changes that will improve Black lives.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
3 years later, not much has changed. People of color are still not being treated equally in the justice system. African American defendants are 22% more likely to have convictions involving police misconduct that eventually result in exoneration.
I just get what I get. And if it comes to me unevenly, that's all I've got. And so all I can do is ensure that what I have, we're trying to being done equally.
To address this bias, Kimberly Baird says she does in-service training with the Lexington Police Department and talks about the perceptions.
They'll say things like, well, they ran for no reason. Well, sometimes just you is a reason. They don't like you. Recognize that people, it's just different because their perceptions are what they see on TV. Or if there happened to be a bad one of you who talked about somebody bad or cussed them or were rude, they just don't trust you and they just don't like you. So don't think that unprovoked fight automatically means they've done something wrong. Sometimes it's they're scared of you.
People of color are overrepresented in the prison system, but severely underrepresented in judicial positions. When it comes to race in the criminal justice system, it's not just about the defendants who appear in front of the court, but the judges who are on the bench. Judge Pamela Goodwine describes how it felt coming into the judicial profession as a young Black woman.
When I walked in the courthouse, I had an awakening. There was no one in the entire courthouse that looked like me. There were no men, there were no women, and there were no people of color. In fact, I was asked by one if I was a defendant.
Judge Goodwine and Commonwealth Attorney Baird have a front row seat to what it's like being a minority in the justice system.
When a defendant is standing before a judge and they see a judge who looks like them, they are more apt, one, to be honest when they're asked what happened and to talk to that judge. And then they're more apt to receive what that judge has to say.
While there is some improvement, a Pew study asked Black Americans how they feel about the possibility of achieving racial equality.
Almost half said that equality isn't likely. And one thing that we found throughout the survey was that kind of pessimism is pretty widespread in terms of multiple questions that we asked, not just about Black Americans' position in society, but about various institutional changes and pathways to equality.
In Lexington, Kentucky, they are opening doors, making history, and making a difference.
In the last 20 years or so, I've seen more diversity on the bench, which I like to think I have paved the way for, and I'm proud of that.
It's always one I'm very excited about folks who say, I want to be a prosecutor, who look like me, who are going to come be at this table to represent the community in which we serve.
Zoey Washington reporting.